Hello and welcome everybody to the JVology live show. I'll be your host today, Krista Inikovsky, as Jay is out and about masterminding and doing some of his brilliance. I am super honored to get to connect and share with you somebody really brilliant. Mike and I met a few years back at, gosh, was it a Mastermind to Millions?
I think it was, yeah. Boy, it feels like over a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
I know, it really, really does. But this is going to be a really interesting topic. COVID has created an uncertainty and a chaos, which also creates an unprecedented opportunities. And for those who take the time to educate themselves on where these opportunities are, there will be potential to make large amounts of money. And that is Mike's specialty. We're going to be talking about real estate, talking about investments, talking about the opportunities that these uncertain times are presenting and how you can perhaps take advantage of it in the best way possible. And I love what Mike says about always wanting to create a win-win. So Mike, welcome to the JVology show. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, those of you who don't know, JVology is a community and an education source for entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, coaches to come together to be able to leverage profitable partnerships, creating real connection and relationship with one another to be able to serve not only their clients better, but create a more expanded reach, a bigger impact, bigger income. And we do that by really getting to know amazing people in a variety of industries. And here on the show, we get to highlight them. So Mike, it's really cool to have you because I do a lot of these interviews and I haven't really spoken on this real estate investment topic very often. So it's kind of a different angle to bring into the JV world.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
Oh boy, before you were born. I've been doing this for 31 years. Is when I started doing real estate, started training other people on how to do it probably halfway through my career. So probably the last 15 years or so. But up to that point, I was just doing it myself quietly until somehow I ended up in the spotlight a little bit. And here I am. So
you're like, and I'll take it. I'm just going to stay right
here. I was
here.
kind of shy, but actually I wasn't really looking for it. Just kind of the universe kind of presented some opportunities for me, but it wasn't actually my dream to do this, but now I actually love it. So,
that's maybe secretly down deep it was. See, like we have that, that little sparkle in your eye to be out in front of people and make a difference.
Well, that part I like. So,
yeah. Well, so I'm just going to share a little bit about you, and then you can talk as much about yourself as you'd like. But I might as well give you a raving intro. Mike has built one of the most envious lifestyles. This is true. You've built one of the most envious lifestyles that I've seen. And I'd love to hear more about what that looks like. Because I think that's really what, as entrepreneurs, what we're after. That part of it's that contribution of wanting to help and give in our gift. And the other is having this flexible lifestyle and really living what you like. Says you travel around the world and enjoy passive income from real estate investment that you've made, and you're helping other people do that. So let's hear a little bit about that awesome lifestyle that you live. What's most important?
Well, COVID kind of put a little bit of a damper on that, but pre-COVID, I pretty much travel around the world full time, mostly for fun, but also I do a lot of give back stuff, humanitarian projects, and some speaking. But yeah, my normal day to day, I'm normally in hot, sunny, tropical places whenever possible because that's my happy place. And, back in the olden days, we had this conversation 15 years ago, I was, a workaholic. And over time, I managed to, create more passive income and build some teams and go from a workaholic to now being a playaholic until recently. And then COVID kind of made me settle down for a little bit. And it's kind of a blessing, though, in some ways, because it's given me time to create more content. And I just see a lot of people, unfortunately, that are going to be in trouble due to the global shutdown of the economy. And so giving me time to sit back, reflect, create some new content and help create hopefully a wave of ethical investors that want to go help these people in trouble and also monetize it and get paid for doing it.
I love that you're saying that because I would imagine there's plenty of people in this real estate investment industry that are almost like sharks or piranha, just waiting for those who can't fulfill on their mortgage due to unfortunate circumstances from COVID, waiting to just kind of pounce and take advantage of them. But what I've been hearing from you as we were talking before the show and here is you're looking for ways that can be supportive and win-win. So tell me, what does that look like? How can
Yeah, well, I'll give you a little background. So if we go back in time to 2007, when we had the Great Recession, mostly more so in the U.S. and Canada, but definitely there were a lot of people in trouble back in those days. And I had a company that I set up called Foreclosure Fixers. And you've probably seen, you've probably gotten stuff in the mail, those postcards, we buy homes and
right.
we'll pay cash for your home. And a lot of those people are sharks and all the power to them. You can get home run. If you send out enough of those flyers and postcards, you'll get a response to it. I actually sent out marketing that basically said, I can help stop the foreclosure. And that was the whole premise of Foreclosure Fixers, was to stop the foreclosure whenever possible. And I took the time. I hired a lawyer, got to know the foreclosure laws inside and out. And quite often, back in those days, I would sit across the table from people. These days, I would probably do some of this online and I'm a little better at technology now than I was back then. But I actually used to sit across the table from people. And a lot of these people, in their minds, they felt that, somebody was going to come in the middle of the night, kick them and their kids out on the streets, toss all their belongings on the front lawn. And that was going to be their fate. And these people were obviously, depressed and stressed and freaking out. And so I would sit across the table from them and I explained to them that, hey, this is a legal process. I tell them how it works. I show them how they can either stop the foreclosure process or certainly stretch things out a lot longer, and also come up with solutions to help them. So in some cases, there's usually two types of people that get into trouble. And the first type is sometimes bad things happen to good people. And right now we're seeing the whole world like that. Nobody chose to have COVID. The people that aren't making their mortgage payments, for the most part, didn't say, hey, I want this pandemic to come along and shut down my job and not have any money. Nobody chose that. And so for those type of people, quite often what happens, they go through traumatic times like right now, and then they'll get another job and they'll get back on their feet and they'll be able to make the payments again, but they won't have that lump sum to pay off the bank, and the bank is going to continue with the foreclosure process. And so for people like that, quite often I would become the lender. I would loan them their arrears. They pay me back in installments. Great win-win. And obviously I'd make some money on that. But nobody else is going to lend these people money because they're in arrears. Nobody would do that. Right. But I would, because I understand the real estate and I can see if they've got equity, and I can see, based on their, situation, if they got into the home and they qualified for it, and they had good credit prior to, I know they're not going to be that big of a risk. Then you have the type 2 person, and these are people that like to live way beyond their means and they be in trouble no matter what. And those people, in all honesty, you usually can't stop the foreclosure because it's just a ticking time bomb. Even if I were to loan them money, they would burn through it. And unfortunately, I would lose my money and they would eventually lose the home anyway. And so for people like that, I would do what I call giving them a soft landing, meaning that instead of being like some of the sharks that you alluded to earlier and just, taking making every last penny I could on the property and getting that home run. Instead, I would leave them in a better position than when I found them. So even if they had no equity in the home, I'd make sure that, or very little, I'd make sure that they had a damage deposit, several months rent, money for food. And because guess what? People, if they lose their job, for example, they work with a whole bunch of other people that lost their job. And so sometimes leaving a little bit on the table for that other person means that they're going to refer a whole bunch more people to you. And maybe you don't get that home run, but if you get 10 paychecks, you're going to make a lot more than doing one deal. And so, so these are some of this is the tip of the iceberg. In that case, I would, quite often purchase their home. I put them in either one of my other homes that's more affordable. Maybe I put them in a rent to own, help them get back into home ownership. And the other thing is obviously when people are on their way down, eventually, if they get help, they'll come back up. And so quite often I would help them. I'd give them advice, help them get back on their feet, get them back into homeownership down the road, and then they would buy through me again. And so treating people fairly and creating win-wins, in my opinion, will actually make you more money in the long run, and you'll have a much better reputation, and you'll still be doing this in 31 years from now. So, so that's just the tip of the iceberg, but that's some of the stuff that I teach.
Well, I only can assume that after 31 years, you've been through a lot of different cycles, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, recessions, the bubble, all sorts of things. You have the experience and the foresight to be able to recognize when things are changing and what can be done even before that next, like what's on the horizon based on the circumstances we have now. What is it going to be in 3, 6, 9, 12 months? And it sounds like that's what you're working on now and teaching people in your upcoming event. Is that right?
That's exactly right. I've seen a ton of these cycles, and usually, people are always saying, "Oh, I'm going to buy. I'm going to wait until things hit rock bottom before I buy, or I'm going to sell at the peak." Nobody ever does that, because when things are at rock bottom, the news is never good. So in the middle of a pandemic, not too many people who thought they were going to be really ready to pounce on deals are doing it, because they're doing what the mass media is telling them to do, and that's like, oh, you need to be fearful and put all your pennies away. And so what we have coming down the pipeline right now is obviously a lot of chaos. There's no way you can shut down the global economy and expect that things are going to be normal when we come out of it. And right now we're in a bit of a bubble. People are still in shock. Governments are printing lots and lots of money and throwing it at people, especially in the US, where they've got an election coming up. We'll see if that continues after November. I've got some serious doubts. But anyway, this has to eventually end. And when that ends, a lot of these businesses that used to be successful, unfortunately, are not going to be opening up again. We're already seeing it with, a lot of bankruptcies, a lot of restaurants that will never open up again, just to name a few. And so obviously when you have businesses shutting down, you have jobs being lost, and you have people that can't make mortgage payments. Right now, there's a moratorium that's stopping the banks from foreclosing, which I'm glad. I mean, I hate to see banks foreclosing on people in the middle of a pandemic and landlords throwing out tenants in a pandemic. That would be horrible. Yeah. But all these things are going to end. This isn't going to last forever. This is a reaction to what's going on, trying to deal with the immediate problem. But the long-term problem is going to be much bigger. And what we're going to see is most likely the biggest transfer of wealth in history. And the key word when you talk about transfer of wealth is transfer. So that money is not disappearing. It's being transferred from, in this case, we're seeing a lot of people at the top, unfortunately, losing their businesses. And luckily, those people, if they had the mindset to get to the top in the first place, they'll eventually rebuild. But that money in the meantime is going to transfer to elsewhere. And my goal is to train as many people as possible to get a piece of that pie, and also, once again, help other people while they're doing it. And really, I don't even like the term real estate investor. I really like the term problem solver, because that's really what we do. We solve other people's problems. And the more problems we know how to fix, the more money we can make. And so I'm doing, as you mentioned, as you alluded to, I'm doing a 3-day event this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'm going to be teaching some of those top strategies to get a piece of that, even if you don't have a lot of money. Because I know obviously right now a lot of people would love to get into real estate, but a lot of them don't know where their next paycheck's coming from. And so when I started 31 years ago, I had less than zero. I was a starving university student trying to pay off student loans. So I started off negative 25,000 or so. And so most of my strategies are geared towards people with very little or no capital to play with. And you can still have a piece of this transfer of wealth.
That's really great. I want to just pause for a quick moment for all of you who are watching right now. We've shared this live stream in several different places, but if you will click right above my picture here, where's my finger? Up right there, where Jay Facet's profile is. If you will click on that, we'll open up to the main page where we are streaming live, and that way you can put comments or questions to Mike, and when you place them there, I'll be able to see them and I can share them here on the screen. So just a little tip for those of you who may be watching it on a shared page, just find us on the original and then we can see you. And then on that note, I had went ahead and we'll keep talking. I just want to make sure everyone has access to it. Mike's 3-day real estate investment event that's happening this weekend. You can click here for more info and to grab a ticket. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what people should expect, and like, who is it really right for? Do I need to already be an investor? Do I need like a ton of capital?
Yeah, well, this is actually great if it's great if you have done investing and you want to learn some more strategies. It's also great if you've never done a real estate deal in your life, because a lot of my a lot of people come to me, especially these days. I'm getting a lot of calls from people looking to reinvent themselves. They lost their job. They're not sure what they're going to do next. And in some cases, this has always kind of been on their radar. Hey, they've always wanted to start real estate investing. And I see, I see this whole pandemic as, although obviously I don't want to downplay that there's obviously a virus of some sort going around, but it's also created a great opportunity for things. Just, to me, it feels like things have slowed down. Things are in slow motion. We have some quiet. We have time to think about, next steps and strategy. And so normally I don't do very many trainings. Normally like I said, I'm traveling and hanging out with my grandkids and doing the stuff that lights me up, volunteering, etc. But this has given me downtime to create a bunch of, share some of my best things that I've learned over the years. And so it's really meant for people that are in that transition period right now that maybe don't know what their next steps are. And so, there's so much opportunity coming down the pipeline. I'm just, I could do a 5-hour show just talking about some of the opportunities without even going in detail. Just like right now, for example, there's the foreclosure auctions and the tax deed auctions. They've all been shut down. And one of my favorite strategies is something called tax deeds. And what that is, when people haven't paid their property taxes in a number of years, eventually the county will put their homes up on the auction block. They need this money for their police department, to keep the schools open, all that stuff. The homes will eventually go on the auction block. And we see properties. I've had students pick up single family homes for like $7,000 for a single family home with no mortgage on it. I mean, that's the actual purchase price. And so the one particular auction that I love is in Houston, Texas. It's been closed down for 5 months now. And every month we see, between these tax deeds that I just explained and also bank foreclosures, they both happen under the same roof on the first Tuesday of every month. So for 5 months, the maybe 1,000 or 2,000 homes that would have changed hands have not changed hands. And so we've got probably the next auction, whenever that opens, they're going to be so far behind. And then on top of it, as I mentioned earlier, is a moratorium on foreclosing on people. So there's going to be a whole bunch of these homes in backlog. And there's just so many opportunities that have never been there before. This auction has never shut down before in over like 100 years. And so, right. So I'm going to be teaching, where are these profit centers? How do you take advantage of them, even if you have very little money? By the way, my student who has, he bought a property for $7,200. He didn't even use his own money. So I actually teach you how do you use other people's money to do real estate deals if you don't have your own. But I'm going to be teaching things such as wholesaling. Wholesaling is where you find a property that's undervalued, you put it under contract, and then you do what's called an assignment. So if you have no money, and let's say you have time on your hands, which a lot of people do right now,
Right.
And you can do this on your computer. You don't have to go looking at homes. But if you find a deal, let's say you found a deal, I'm just going to make up numbers here, worth $200,000, and you can find it for $100,000. You put it under contract, and then you find somebody like myself or another investor, and you say, hey, Mike, I've got this, I found this property. It's $100,000 under market value. If you're willing to give me $20,000, I'll assign the contract to you. And what that means is you're getting paid right now, even though you had no money in the deal. You're getting paid right now, and you make money whether I'm successful at that flip or whether I'm unsuccessful. You still get paid. You get paid very early on. I'm the one who takes the risk. I've got to go do the work and then sell it. But wholesaling is a great strategy for people just starting out. There's ways to, if you have bad credit, you can take over other people's mortgages. We're going to be teaching pretty much, I'm throwing everything that I can in 3 days, everything I can fit in there. And I'm bringing in, some experts that are also on the front lines and finding out their strategies, what they're doing right now during COVID, during lockdown in some cases, and how they're making, a lot of my friends are making more money now during COVID than they made prior to. It's crazy what's going on out there right now. But I think that
for all the people who are not able to do their job, that creates opportunity for others that are able to thrive. And the thing that's really coming to mind for me is, just as I'm thinking about our audience and even people who know other people, someone who's been affected by COVID and their business has gone under, they're not able to open their doors, for many different reasons. This sounds like a great opportunity for someone to step in, even if they've never done it before, to find a new income stream and is that fair to say? I mean, can someone that's never done this before learn to get started with this?
In all honesty, I could teach a 10-year-old how to do it. And I mean, none of this stuff is rocket science. None of it also, by the way, is get rich quick. I don't want anybody to think they're going to take my 3-day course. The next day, they're going to go make $1 million, because that's
Right.
not realistic. But if you actually do the work, and especially if you're out of work right now, if you treated this like a real job and you put 8 hours a day in, it wouldn't take you very long. We're talking weeks, maybe months at the most. We're not talking years before you get your first, five-figure, maybe, I won't say 6-figure because but your first deal will probably be a 5-figure deal. And over time, if you do enough of them, you will get your home runs where you'll eventually get 6-figure paychecks every now and then. And so, but I always like to, under promise, over deliver. Your first paycheck should be 5 figures. Maybe if you kind of mess it up a little bit, you might make 4 figures. But the goal is to basically give you the tools so you can go out and do this effectively. And also there's strategies that really have, and I know a lot of people think that, it might be risky. A lot of these strategies have no risk, like that wholesale deal, for example. You're putting it under contract, and you're putting a clause in there to protect yourself so that if you don't find another buyer for it, and by the way, I'm your first buyer, you can put me on your buyers list. But if you find that deal and nobody wants to buy it from you, you just walk away from the deal. You've lost nothing. You've put no money into that deal. There's also other strategies. There's something called overages, and very few people know how to do this strategy. And so basically, we talked about those real estate auctions. Let's say the opening bid on a property is $5,000 and the home sells for $50,000. That first $5,000, that belongs to that belongs to the county fair and square. That's for the back taxes. The additional $45,000, that actually belongs to the previous homeowner. Very few homeowners have a clue this money is owed to them, and the county makes very little attempt to try to track them down, because after a certain amount of time they get to keep it, and that's their slush fund. So a really cool strategy that once again requires almost no cash out of your pocket to do is tracking down these homeowners and basically saying, hey, I know somebody owes you $45,000. If you're willing to give me a piece of it, and it's up to you if you want to take 10, 20, 30, 40%, that's whatever you negotiate. But these are people that just lost their home. They're probably pretty much penniless. And if you go to them and say, listen, I know somebody owes you a bunch of money, and if you're willing to, give me a piece of it, I'll do all the paperwork and help you retrieve that money. That's a big win. And that's the thing I love about real estate investing. There's so many opportunities to help other people that had no idea of the options open to them. And you get paid for it. It's like I have to pinch myself sometimes that I get paid to do what I do, because it's very fulfilling, and it's fun, and is very, very lucrative. And so, when you look at some of the strategies I just told you, like I told you first about pre-foreclosure, and that's where you find people that are in trouble and help them before they lose their home to the bank. Then we talked about the foreclosure auction, because we can't help everybody. Some of those homes will end up on the auction block. And then after the auction, there's the opportunity to do these overages. I call that the trifecta, because you get this every month. There's a list published. Just in Houston alone, there's a list that I use to find a list of all the homes going for auction at the end of the month. And then I would start off by sending something to help those homeowners before they lose their home. If I can't get it there, then I'll go to the auction. I have a team that actually goes to the auction for me and my students. But then I'll try to get it at the auction. And if I'm not successful in the first two, I still have a third chance, and that's to go help these people get the money owed to them for whatever the home sold for above the initial opening bid. And so there's lots of ways to make money. It doesn't really require a ton of work, because like I said, you're taking that one list and you have 3 different ways to make money off it. And so to answer your question, can anybody do it? Yes, absolutely, anybody can do it. Most people don't have a clue how to do it, and that's why I'm here to share this. Well, I'm locked down. Well, I don't like to lock down, but while I'm restricted
Well, you're traveling a smidge less than usual.
a lot less than usual. I've only made it as far as Vancouver from Calgary so far. I haven't made it to any other country, and that's very weird. So I'm definitely taking this time, and I'm using it to create as much as I can to help as many people, like I said, to ethically invest, so they can go create a ripple, make a difference, and help a bunch of other people in trouble, and then it trickles down from there. So that's the plan.
Very good. So everyone who's watching, if you are looking to fully replace your income, if you're looking to supplement your income, if you're looking to learn how to invest, if you have even the slightest curiosity on how this works and if it would fit into your lifestyle or your plan or your wealth strategy, come and join Mike this weekend. It's a 3-day event, $97. Is that what you said?
$97, yes. I want to make it extremely affordable because I know a lot of people are in trouble, but I also want somebody, everybody to have a little bit of skin in the game so they actually show up, because I can't help you if you don't show up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So take advantage of it. Click the link is here in the chat. Get your ticket, share it with someone. I'm sure we all know business owners, entrepreneurs, people who work in a variety of fields that don't have the income that they did or any at all. This could be a fabulous opportunity for them. So share it no matter where you're located. We all get to Zoom in online for this virtual event and see what might be possible for you and how to turn what is an unfortunate situation and help not only yourself profit, but sounds like you're able to help other homeowners as well find a good solution.
Yeah, and if you're one of those people that might be in trouble with your mortgage, then another reason to attend, because I'm going to give you some strategies on how you can, slow it if you do end up in foreclosure, how you can slow that down, possibly avoid it entirely, and there's going to be opportunities to network virtually with other people as well. And so, part of the great benefit, if you want to be a real estate investor, is people that have lots of time. There's other people who have lots of money. And quite often, when they team up, you take a lose-lose. Like if you know how to do a certain strategy, but you don't have the cash to do it, that's a lose. And if there's somebody out there that has the money, but not the strategy, that's a lose. And when you combine and collaborate and do a joint venture, and I know that's near and dear to Jay's heart, JVology, when you do a joint venture together, you take a lose-lose, you can turn that into a win-win. And that's some of the stuff that I teach. And so if you're right now in trouble yourself, though, I'm going to give you some strategies and also potentially connect you to some people that might be able to work with you and bail you out. So that's another plus.
Fantastic. I know there are a lot of people who should be taking advantage of that. Well, great. Well, Mike, thank you so much for being here on the JVology live show. It was great to see you and connect with you again. And again, everyone, just take advantage, click the link here in the chat. Come check it out. See what you don't know, whether it's improving your own home situation to avoid foreclosure or looking at investment opportunities in a myriad of different ways. Mike is highly experienced and has a great heart and is going to help a lot of people. So thanks again, Mike.
Thanks so much. It's great to see you.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. We'll see you real soon.